All right, so there's a saying that Christmas is the most wonderful time of the year, and you know what? I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that assessment. But I will add that there is a second most wonderful time of the year, and that is the NFL playoffs. And we have more parity in the NFL playoffs this year than I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm 25 years of age. This is the first set of playoffs in my entire life where we haven't had either Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes playing in them. And so where there's usually that that kind of barrier that we would see every year for teams like, your Bills or new startup teams like your Broncos. That barrier is not there anymore. And so this provides a really unique opportunity for a lot of teams, for a lot of organizations out there to do things that they have never done before and reach heights that they've never reached in the history of their franchise. So, what I'm going to do in this show here is I'm going to provide my wild card predictions, each of the games this week and all six of them. And then I'm going to go through my entire bracket for the NFL playoffs from start to finish, wild card, divisional, championship weekend, Super Bowl, and whatnot. And so, without further ado, let's get into it. We are going to start at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. We have a rematch of a matchup that we saw several weeks ago on Thanksgiving weekends between the Carolina Panthers and the LA Rams. The Carolina Panthers upset the Rams in that game. This was on Thanksgiving weekend several weeks ago. And I went back and looked at the highlights of this game. And while Carolina earned that thing, it felt a little fluky in nature. I'm not going to lie. It felt like one of those games where if you simulate it 10 times, LA will win 7. This was one of the games where the Panthers were just the better team. They won. They capitalized on opportunities. And there are multiple things that went right for the Panthers, multiple things that went wrong for the Rams. Let me start here. The Rams had 3 total turnovers. Matt Stafford had 2 interceptions. With the exception of that Falcons game on Monday nights, that is very uncharacteristic of Matt Stafford's in that offense. This is usually a very buttoned up and complete roster. And this was also one of those games where you always felt like the Rams were going to find a way to pull off. They were moving the ball better. They looked sharper. They looked like the better team, but the Panthers were the better team that day because they took what the Rams gave them. And even though the Rams had put together good drives, they would drive down the fields and get an interception or fumble the ball or have some kind of catastrophic momentum shifting play. I don't think that you get that body of work out of the Rams a second time in a row. I think this time they're more buttoned up. They're more polished. They learned from this last matchup that they had against the Panthers. It's important to note that the Rams are getting some offensive line production coming back. And so, whereas Matt Stafford has been under a lot of pressure these past several weeks, I mean, you saw it with Arizona. You saw it especially with that game against Atlanta on Monday nights. That'll be more polished. He'll be more protected. He'll have a cleaner pocket. And so he'll be able to navigate the way that he usually does. And you have Devontae Adams coming back. So you don't have to worry about just watching for Puka all the time. And I love Tutu Atwell. I think that he's a great target. But when you can get Devontae Adams back and you pair him with Puka Nacua, there's an argument that is the scariest wide receiver duo in the entire NFL. And you have what is, in my opinion, the best head coach quarterback duo with Sean McVay and Matt Stafford's going into Carolina here. Now, Carolina's an upstart. All right. I love Carolina's trajectory here. You know, it's a huge milestone for Dave Canales to get this team into the playoffs. I know it was sloppy the way they did. I know they didn't even beat the Bucs last weekend. They had some turnovers in that game, but the fact that they're here is incredible. And the last matchup between these two teams was a little sloppy as well. It was rainy. It was not a pretty afternoon in Charlotte, North Carolina by any means. And it could be a little wet this Saturday as well. There's going to be some rain during the day in North Carolina. You know, I'm a weather nerd, so I check the weather. But it should be dissipated by the time the game kicks off. It should be kind of like the Rose Bowl, where the field might be a little bit wet, but it's not really going to affect the way that these two teams play. Now, where Carolina's offense can break through and have some explosive plays, they don't exactly have the consistency of the Rams. You don't see it every game out of them. You don't see it come together all the time. It's just Carolina is still very much a work in progress. And so while it's an accomplishment that they got here, I think that the Rams are just built better for a game like this with playoff pressure. You know, keep in mind, Thanksgiving weekend, there's no playoff pressure. You got playoff pressure now. You know what's at stake. The Panthers haven't been here in a while. The Rams have been a fixture. The Rams are favored by 10.5 points to win this thing. I like the Rams to win 31-20. There it is. There's my pick. Take it to the bank. This is probably the game that I had the most confidence in this weekend. You know, I've said, too, that it is very challenging to beat the same team twice in 1 year, especially when it's a team who I believe is a Super Bowl contender in the Rams. And so give me the Rams over the Panthers. The last matchup was a little wonky, and I think that this one will be a little bit more telling of who these two teams really are. Okay. Let's shift it here. We are going to Chicago, Illinois. You're going to hear this a billion times going into this matchup. It's the oldest rivalry in the NFL. They've been playing for over a century. You're going to hear that a billion times going into this game. Trust me, you know, Amazon loves to continue to bring those things up. I love that crew. I love it. But they're going to bring that storyline up a lot. I said this in my breakdown of the Oregon-Indiana Peach Bowl, and I'm going to say it here. I love when fierce division rivals get to play each other a third time in the playoffs. It is truly a blessing. This is a rematch of the 2011 is technically the right term to say about this game. The 2011 NFC Championship. Got the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers in Soldier Field. We just saw this thing a few weeks ago. Soldier Field was rocking for that game, and it'll be rocking for this one as well. That atmosphere is going to be absolutely electric. The Bears haven't played a home playoff game since 2018. Technically 2019 is the 2018 season with the double doink. Hopefully there's no double doink in this game here in particular. So the first thing that I want to address here is the Packers quarterback situation, because that has a massive impact on who I'm picking for this game. So technically it was supposed to be Malik Willis that was going to play quarterback for the Packers in this game, because Jordan Love is still technically on the road to recovery from the concussion that he sustained in this exact game a few weeks ago. Well, Malik Willis is injured. So he's likely not going to be able to play for this game. So the Packers, who don't have a ton of quarterback depth, they're not going to go out and get a guy this week. They're going to put Jordan Love back in. This is very much a scenario that resembles what we saw in that NFC Championship a few years ago between the Eagles and the 49ers, where the Niners had to put Brock Purdy in He was extremely injured, but they had to put Brock Purdy in. It's the same scenario that the Packers are facing here. They have to play Love, but they know that it's a risk that they're running, but it quite frankly is the best option available. So if something happens here, if he takes another hit, if his concussion symptoms flare up again, this could get sloppy for Green Bay. They may have to have a position player who has some kind of quarterback experience. I don't know exactly who that is on the Packers, but they might have somebody like that come in to play quarterback at some point if Jordan Love somehow gets knocked out. And it's Jordan Love's first time coming back since before Christmas. So this is going to be, and he's coming off of a concussion. So he's going to have to get back into rhythm here. The Bears recently, like as far as their trajectory goes, I've been very high and low on them recently because while their win against the Packers a few weeks ago was miraculous, and it was one of the games of the year, you got to remember, for about 85% of that game, the Bears were on the struggle bus. Okay, and they just lost to the Lions last weekend. Their offense didn't look particularly great. But then you look at that Niners game, and even though they lost that one, their offense looked the best it had this entire year. So Chicago, especially offensively, is a hard team to really gauge, pinpoint, and identify. I think that they have their share of issues when it comes to consistency on offense. You see explosive plays. Okay. You know that they have that in them. You know that Caleb Williams is going to give you that razzle-dazzle play. Like I said in my video a few weeks ago, there are very few quarterbacks that can do the things that he does. And so he's going to fit the ball in places where very few guys can, make some circus throws that very few guys can make. And I love his chemistry with DJ Moore. I love his chemistry with Luther Burden. Those two are really starting to click. You saw that in the San Francisco game. And right now, both Rome Odunze and Brisker are going to be game-time decisions. And so, depending on if those guys come back or not, that'll be a huge impact for the Bears as well. Those are two guys that I like a lot. So, those two come back. This is absolutely hands down, slam dunk, a pick for the Bears. And I love the way that their defense has played this year. The Bears look a lot better in the trenches. I mean, Joe Thuney, Drew Dahlman, they look a lot more buttoned up in the trenches. So I think they're going to contain Green Bay here, whose pass rush hasn't been as good without Micah Parsons. It's also important to note that the Packers have been without Tucker Kraft for quite some time. So, and in my opinion, those are the Packers' two best players. They're going into a playoff game without their two best players and a quarterback who's coming off of a concussion, who technically might, you can argue, shouldn't even be playing just yet. But that's a situation that they're going into. Malik Willis isn't available. This game is going to be windy, too. It's that the conditions are very much going to resemble the last matchup between these two at Soldier Fields. The Packers are favored by 1.5, which I don't get. The Vegas still loves the Packers for some reason, and I do. Because the Packers always find ways to pull through and win games. I mean, you've seen it time and time again. Their first matchup with the Bears, their matchup with the Broncos, like all year long, even when they lose guys. You know, you lose Tucker Kraft, you lose Micah Parsons, you still find a way to win. They're a resilient team, and they don't let their circumstances define who they are. But in this game in particular, the Bears are healthier. They're hotter. They're more put together. If the Packers never lost Parsons or Kraft, I'd be hands down Packers here. I think they'd be more experienced than the Bears at this point. But this is a game that I expect the Bears to win. But I think that the outcome will reflect the over/under. I think it'll be in the 40s. I like the Bears to win this thing 23-20. Just like their last matchup, it'll be a lower scoring, more physical, you could even say sloppier kind of game. All right, let's transition here. This might be the game that I'm most excited for this weekend. I think that this has the potential to be an absolute barn burner. between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Buffalo Bills. The storylines going into this game are incredible. Buffalo, Josh Allen. This is the year. This is the opportunity. You have no Patrick Mahomes. You have no Tom Brady. You have no Lamar Jackson. You have no Joe Burrow standing in your way this year. This is the year. And there's no way around it. This is the year to capitalize. However, you are playing one of the absolute hottest teams in the NFL, in the Jacksonville Jaguars. And you're playing them in Jacksonville. The Bills have the best quarterback in the NFL. And that goes a long way in the playoffs in this league. But I literally have questions everywhere else with this Buffalo team. I have questions with the offensive line. I have questions with their secondary, with their defense overall. They can't stop their run either. I mean, how many teams are you going to see pass the ball all over them, run the ball down their throat? And quite frankly, I have questions with their coaching staff, especially going up against Jacksonville's, who, in his first year, Liam Cohen has completely turned this thing around. And it is by no coincidence he has changed the culture in Jacksonville. This team looks a lot more refined than they have in the past, and they're a lot better at capitalizing opportunities. Trevor Lawrence looks better than he has in years. He's looking like the Trevor Lawrence that we have all expected him to be at this point. Defensively, they are imposing. It's going to be 71 and clear outside. I look at the weather. I think that this game is going to be a shootout. I think that this is going to be a high score, a lot different than that Bears and Packers game, because I think Josh Allen is going to get his. It's a playoff game. You know, some people say that Josh Allen is quote unquote buns and not good in clutch moments. I disagree. The Bills collectively have been good in clutch moments in past years. Josh Allen, if you go back and look at a lot of the Bills' playoff games, he lays it on the line. He does everything that he needs to do to put them in a position to win games. It's the overall team that has held Buffalo back in those situations. Josh Allen is going to get his. Josh Allen is going to ball out in this game, per usual. But it's going to be that same situation that we've seen these past several years where even though he empties the tank, it's just simply not going to be enough because the Bills are playing a better overall, better constructed team in Jacksonville. I mean, I love so many of these guys on this team. Trevor Lawrence has come a long way. ETN is looking the best that he has in his entire career. Parker Washington, can't say enough really good things about him. On defense, Josh Allen Hines has been great. And, you know, he had to change his name because of Josh Allen. And so I think that while one team has the superior quarterback, the other team has a more complete roster. That team is the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Bills, believe it or not, are favored to win this game. Vegas still loves the Bills because of Josh Allen. They're favored to win by 1.5, but give me the Jacksonville Jaguars to win this thing, 31-27 in an instant classic. I feel pretty confident in this one. I feel pretty confident on the Jags to make a run in these playoffs. Just saying, a little foreshadowing here for what's to come. This one right here was the most challenging game of all for me to pick. And I went back and forth because the Niners are one of those teams that you simply don't want to pick against. It doesn't make a lot of sense. All right, you've had Nick Bosa out for the entire year. You've had Fred Warner out for the entire year. You've had injuries all over for this game. It just doesn't make sense how the Niners keep on finding ways to win, but they do. And it's a result of great coaching. Now, I've been back and forth on Kyle Shanahan for years because I think he's great at developing players. I think that he's great at revolutionizing offenses. But late game play calling has been an issue for the Niners. Play calling in clutch spots has been an issue for the Niners. Like, I've been up and down Shanahan for years, but this has been even more than his teams have gone to Super Bowls. This might be Kyle Shanahan's best job yet, because nobody saw it coming. I had this team going 6-11. I'll come out and say it. With all the injuries, I just think it was going to stack. And then whenever Brock Purdy was hurt for weeks, I was like, this team is cooked. They almost won the North. They almost won the NFC West. And that was with Mac Jones being a quarterback for several weeks. So this is a team kind of like the Packers that faces adversity week in and week out, and they find ways to win. However, I do believe that this is a team that is not walking into a buzzsaw. I don't want to say a buzzsaw, but is walking into a situation with the Eagles where you've got to play a certain brand of football to win this game, to win in January in the Link. You've got to have a good pass rush, and you've got to be able to pound the rock. Well, the Niners have Christian McCaffrey, right? They're going to get theirs running the ball. The Eagles' defense is not what it was last year, so they're going to get theirs running the ball. But my concerns lie with the pass rush. Because of the injuries they faced this year, it's just not as complete and effective as it's been in past years. Now, Robert Saleh has done a great job at maximizing his defensive personnel and his performance this year. But I always felt like, even with the Niners getting into the playoffs, there is going to be a ceiling. There's going to be a situation that they're just not going to be able to overcome. They felt like the Vikings last year and the Browns the year before, where it was a great coaching job, but you know this team has just restrictions because of personnel, because of availability. They have a ceiling. And I think that ceiling is this very game right here. Have I been in love with, have I been entranced with the Eagles' performances over the past month? No. I mean, they won out against the Raiders and the Commanders twice, and they pulled that game off against the Bills, which was a great win. But the other three, you pretty much expected them to win. So it's not like my opinion on the Eagles has drastically changed since that Chargers game. I still think this is a very flawed football team that, like the Niners, has a ceiling this year. This team is not returning to the Super Bowl. I don't see it. But in this game, in this matchup in particular, the Eagles win. I like this game because Jalen Hurts is a situational quarterback. That's who he is. I love him, but he's a situational quarterback. He's a guy where if he has pressure coming at him all game and he's not getting great looks, he doesn't know how to respond. But if he's got a clean pocket and everybody's healthy, he's not playing this elite pass rush, he has the opportunity to really blow things open. You know, you saw it in the Super Bowl last year when he had that clean pocket back there. He was standing back there and delivering with confidence to A.J. Brown, to Devontae Smith. And I think that that's what this game is going to look like here. This is a great matchup for the Eagles. I think Saquon Barkley is going to have a pretty decent day against the 49ers defensive line as well. And while the Niners showed up and showed out against the Bears a few weeks ago, against the Seahawks last week, they just weren't able to capitalize on opportunities on offense at all. This very much reminds me of the Vikings towards the end of the year last year, where they gave everything that they had, absolutely everything that they had for 17 games, and it took a lot for them to get to this point. But I think that they drained their energy in the regular season, and to ask the Niners to win 4 more games like this, I just don't think this year is realistic. But they have a lot to build on here in the future. In the Link in Philly, it's going to be cold. Give me the Eagles to win this thing by the score of 26-21. All right. Let's take a trip up to Foxborough, Massachusetts for the Patriots' first home playoff game since the Tom Brady era. Gillette is going to be absolutely rocking. And I can't wait because you know I love that Patriots dynasty. And so to see them back at this point is just it's awesome. It's so refreshing for me. People had a lot of questions about if the Patriots are battle tested enough. I know that they statistically had one of the weakest schedules in the past 10 years. And so when it comes to later on in the playoffs, that is absolutely a cause for concern. But in this matchup, I'm still very much leaning New England. The Chargers, like the 49ers, they are a very well-coached team. They have one of the best coaches in all of the NFL in Jim Harbaugh. But they face a lot of catastrophic injuries this year. They're going into this game with no Rashawn Slater, no Joe Alt, no Najee Harris. 3 keys to victory. This is a really good Chargers team, but it's not a complete Chargers team from an availability standpoint. They're going into these playoffs kind of thin personnel-wise. The Patriots are coming in completely healthy. And you saw how they looked all year long. I mean, Drake May from year 1 to year 2 has been one of the most improved quarterbacks in the NFL. His confidence has blossomed. His accuracy has become better. The Patriots are a lot better in the trenches. I love the way their pass rush looks. I love the way that their secondary looks. And so this is one of those games where I think that another playoff team just shoves Justin Herbert in the locker and closes it. He's just not going to be enough in this spot because Ladd McConkey has had the same up and down season that we saw him have in 2024. So you don't know if he's going to show out here, and you also never know when Quentin Johnson is going to show up for the Chargers either. My favorite target for them is still the veteran Keenan Allen. You know that he'll get his. It's great to have Omarion Hampton back, but he's still rounding back into form. I like the Patriots here. They've got that 2-headed monster at running back with Trevion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson. Got an above-average receiving core. Love the offensive line. Love the strides that Drake May has made. And I know what the repercussions will be if the Chargers lose this game. The conversation will be, is Justin Herbert ever going to win a playoff game? Is he ever going to do it? Yes, he will. When he gets more personnel back next year, this is not Brandon Staley or Anthony Lynn. The Chargers are going to be a force in these years to come. With injuries, though, I just don't think this is their year. I think they're going into a buzzsaw in Foxborough. This is a buzzsaw because this place is going to be rocking on Sunday night. It's going to remind me of Detroit a couple of years ago when they had that wild card game against the Rams. They were just going to be supercharged here. The Patriots are favored by 3.5 points to win. I think they win. I think they cover. I think they win by the score of 31-17 here. This game kind of reminds me of the 2019 divisional between the Patriots and the Chargers. I think that this game does have some blowout potential because the Chargers line of attack is going to be so reliant on Justin Herbert that it's just not going to be enough. The Patriots are just more of a machine. The game kind of reminds me of Jags and Bills. Give me the more complete team. Give me the Patriots to win this thing. Okay. Last but certainly not least, we have the Monday night matchup between the Steelers and the Texans. Now, I always like to talk narratives here. ESPN loves to talk narratives as well. This is Monday Night Football. They're going to talk glowingly about how Pittsburgh hasn't lost a Monday Night Football game in, 15 years now? I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but they haven't lost a Monday night game in quite a while. Let's just say it for the very least. But this is a Steelers team who won the division, but oddly enough, the AFC North was the worst division in the NFL this year. And actually, let me take that back. The NFC South is pretty bad. One of the worst divisions in the NFL this year. The Ravens weren't where we expected them to be. The Bengals lost Joe Burrow for more than half of the year, and the Browns are the Browns. So the Steelers won a division that's typically competitive, but wasn't very competitive this year. I love the leadership of Aaron Rodgers in a spot like this. All right, it's good to have the oldest player in the NFL on your side. He's been in these spots a lot, these high pressure spots a lot. I'm not concerned about him. He will get his. But the composition of this Steelers team, I just don't think matches up very well with the Texans. Their O-line is Aussie. The Texans' defensive line, pass rush, one of the best in the NFL. Yes, DK is coming back, but outside of DK, I mean, you got Adam Thielen, you got Calvin Austin, an aging Adam Thielen, and Calvin Austin, who's good, not great. That Texans secondary, Eric Stingley Jr., Kamari Lassiter, who will be healthy here. It's just going to be too much. Pittsburgh is going to struggle moving the ball. This I think could be a low-scoring game because I do have my questions with the Texans when it comes to their offensive efficiency. Their consistency has been up and down all year, the Texans on offense. So I do have my questions when it comes to that. But in this game, I do think that C.J. Stroud and that offensive attack is enough based off of what the Texans' defense is going to give you. The defense is going to win this game. Offense wins games. Defense wins championships. This game is going to be a reflection of this. And I was having a conversation with my dad yesterday about this game. And, I'm an Alabama alum, so I love my Tide. But will gladly admit that Alabama is not what it was with Nick Saban. It's not the Alabama of old. There's a certain perception of Pittsburgh that we have when they play in a playoff game. And I still call it Heinz Field. Y'all can call it Acrisure. I still call it Heinz Field. This is not the Pittsburgh of old. Okay. If this was 2017, I'd say, Pittsburgh is welcoming Houston. Give me the triple Bs. The triple Bs aren't there anymore. Okay, they're on their third different quarterback in 3 years. This is not the same Pittsburgh team, and Pittsburgh hasn't won a playoff game since January of 2017. It's been a while, and that's been a monkey waiting off their back. But I don't think that they do here. I think that right now the Texans are more together. They're better coached. They're on a better trajectory. They have the better defense. This is not a steel curtain defense at all either. So give me Houston to win this thing 27-17. And I will say this too. I'm one of those guys, I don't ever pray on anybody to lose their job. But I will say that I don't think that this head coach churn cycle, this carousel, is over yet. Because if Pittsburgh loses this game, I think they just delay the inevitable a week. If Pittsburgh loses this game, it'll be yet another first-round exit for the Steelers, and I don't think that fan base can take any more. And so they may move off of Tomlin after this as well. Just keep an eye on that. But in this spot, I am very heavy on the Houston Texans. All right, that is it for my wild card predictions. We are now going to get into my overall NFL playoff predictions here. So let me go ahead and pull that up here. Some of y'all are going to be surprised by what I have to share. Let me just say that. I went back and forth on a couple of these. I ran a couple theoretical matchups out. But here is BG's official playoff bracket. And boom, there it is. I'll get this off. There we go. All right, here it is. So as you just saw all my wild card picks, of course, I have the Rams beating the Panthers. I have the Eagles beating the Niners. I have the Bears beating the Packers. I have Houston beating the Steelers, Jacksonville beating the Bills, and the Patriots beating the Chargers. We know all that. Let's get into the divisional round. So, if this all shakes out like I expect it to, you'll have the 2 and 3 playing over here, and the Bears and the Eagles, a rematch of the Black Friday game. And then you get the rematch of another Amazon game, the game of the year, in my opinion, a few weeks ago. Seahawks and Rams, once again. Puka Nacua absolutely ate, but it wasn't enough. The Seahawks came back from being down 30-14. And then over here, you've got another rematch between the Houston Texans and the Denver Broncos. Denver won that game. I like Houston here. And then you've got, this one was my toughest one of the entire bracket. Patriots and Jags, the rematch of the 2018 AFC Championship. I went back and forth, but I like Jacksonville and that game because I think that their experience is just going to be more for New England. I think that New England has a cap with how far they think that with how far they're going to go. I think that New England just has a cap here because of their depth, because of their youth. You know, they've got the Stephon Diggs, Christian Barmore situation going on too. I think that Jacksonville is just made for this point in time to go far in these playoffs. I know Denver won the last matchup with the Texans, but this time around, I like Houston. I think they're a more complete team. I have had questions about the Broncos' overall offensive consistency these past couple weeks. It simply just hasn't looked good, and there's no way around it at this point. It just hasn't looked good, and so I like the Texans to win that game. You've got, I mean, and the Texans' offense has been a struggle. I get that. They've had their consistencies, but that is yet another game where I think that C.J. Stroud is enough. The Broncos' defense has been kind of sputtering, too, because you can tell they've had to support that offense a lot. And so I know it's going to be cold up there. You're going to have the altitude issue. It's always tough to win at Mile High. But I've been high on this Texans team for a while, and I think that they deliver. And you get an AFC South AFC championship, which is going to be electric. If there's any year that weird shit is going to happen, it is the year without Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady in the playoffs. And so, give me the AFC South championship in the AFC championship. Okay. Now let's go over to the other side here. I think that the Rams get their revenge on Seattle. The Rams were spanking that ass for 3 quarters in Lumen Fields. Like, do not forget that. The Rams were spanking that ass. And with completely healthy, I think that this third time around, the Rams get theirs. This is one of those flip a coin games. If these teams were to play 10 times, I think each wins 5. This time around, I think that the Rams get theirs. I think Seattle's come a long way. This is a very complete team from top to bottom. I love that defense, and I love the growth that Sam Darnold's experienced this year. I love his connection with JSN. But I think that Puka Nacua very much exposed flaws in that Seahawks secondary. Do not put Josh Jobe on him again because he will toast him just like he did in Lumen Field. I like that mismatch. And I like the Rams to win that game. And then you've got the Bears and the Eagles. I think that the Bears expose Eagles' flaws. I think that their offense is just a little bit more put together. They absolutely shredded the Eagles with the run game. The Eagles struggled to stop the run with DeAndre Swift, and I think that they will again in this matchup in Soldier Fields. Give me the Bears here. So you've got a Rams-Bears NFC Championship and a Texans-Jaguars AFC Championship. 2 very high-octane matchups, I must say. Here, I think that the Bears' youth will show. I think that the Rams having the best head coach quarterback duo in the NFL, and then having one of the best receiving duos in the NFL as well. And I like the Rams pass rush as well. Give me the Rams to win that game, even though it'll be in the cold, it'll be in Soldier Fields. If there's one dome team that does not affect, it's the LA Rams. Go look at that Eagles game last year. All right. This AFC South rematch for the AFC Championship. I love Houston. I love Houston. They've come a long way. They've won 9 games in a row. It's tough to derail that. Oh my God, that comment's hilarious. If the Bears make it to the Super Bowl, I will personally donate my left testicle to science research. Well, Fifth River Rat, I'm going to hold on to that comment forever, and I will hold you to that if the Bears make it to the Super Bowl. I will not forget that. So bookmark it. I'm not technologically sound. If I could find a way to bookmark that, wait, yeah, here it is. There's the comment right here. Absolutely insane. It's only January 7th, and we already have the comment of the year. All right, let's get back to that Texans-Jags game. I think the Jags offense is going to be the difference. You know, we say it time and time again. We question the Texans' consistency on offense. The Jags are more consistent. You saw how they just surgically dissected a great defense in the Denver Broncos and Mile High a couple weeks ago. I think that they do the same thing here at home at Everbank. And so give me a weird, wonky Rams-Jags Super Bowl. What a color combo that is. I can't wait to throw my Super Bowl party and have those different colored plates and decorations hanging with teal and gold and royal blue and gold, yellow again. And this I think could be just as entertaining as that Rams-Bengals Super Bowl. I think you can have a franchise and the Jags looking for their first ever Super Bowl, and just a more experienced, more thorough team, and the Rams. I like the Rams to pull this thing off and be your Super Bowl champions. I've been high on the Rams for a while. I know that some people have question marks about them because of how they've looked the past couple of weeks, but you've got to keep in mind they've had a banged up offensive line. They've had Devontae Adams back. They're going to be full force here. I think that the Rams are timed to peak perfectly. It really doesn't matter what we've done these past couple of weeks. You know, I've been one of those people that fall into the trap of momentum going into the playoffs. Sometimes it works, but sometimes it's who are you once January starts, because we've seen it with the New York Giants in the past. We've seen it twice. Didn't end the season perfect, but once they got into January, they got rolling. Beat the Buccaneers, beat the Cowboys, beat the Packers, beat the Patriots. They just started rolling. It only matters what you do from this point forward. And I think that the Rams embody everything that is going to carry them to the Super Bowl. And it'll be great to see the Jags finally get to the Super Bowl, because they've been waiting so patiently to get to that point. Their fans have been disappointed so often. I mean, back in the late 90s, they made that run one of their first couple of years as a franchise. They had that heartbreaker against New England a couple of years ago. I think they finally make it here. I think they finally have the field to get it done. But ultimately, I like the Rams to win this thing. Let me know what y'all think about that in the comments. So there it is. There is the official BGG bracket. All right, everyone. Been doing this for almost 45 minutes here, so that is going to be the show. But let me know what y'all think of my wildcard picks and what you think of my overall bracket in the comment section below. We will be doing live reactions for each playoff game. Wildcard, divisional, championship, Super Bowl. We're doing it for all of them. So please stay tuned. We'll be doing a divisional pick show the week after. We'll be doing not an AFC Championship show, but I'll be releasing predictions for each of those games, and then my official Super Bowl pick. But let me know what y'all think of everything in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe to The Air with Brian Gregory. We have a lot of big things coming. But thank y'all for tuning in, and continue to enjoy your lunch. Have a great day.